So there is a supposed far-right milk boycott taking place in the UK right now, and you might be wondering what that is all about. And I didn't really know what this was about before I started looking into it. Right. What were you about to say?
I was going to say, isn't milk the drink of the far right? Weren't they all?
It's the white nationalist
drink.
A
few years ago, they were like, yeah, white people are drinking milk as a flex or something. I was like, oh, are they?
I mean, we are able to digest it, so it is kind of a flex.
Yeah, but lots of people are.
Yeah, but we're most best.
No, it's mostly just like, the
at digesting it. I mean,
it's mostly just the sort of Far East Asians who are bad at it. A lot of Africa's good at it. A lot of the Middle East is all right at it. And so it's like you can find like a heat map of like.
We are the best at it, though. Your eyes do get bluer for every pint of milk that you drink. That's not actually true. Sadly, that's not actually true. But yeah, for a while, milk was branded the drink of the far right.
And so what are they trying to undermine us here?
Potentially, they're basically just pursuing net zero policies. Stupid 2030 agenda net zero policies, which they're not quiet about at all, which the people who promote it go out onto stages that you can find videos of on YouTube, see them saying, we need to do this to the livestock so that we can reduce methane produce, so that we can reduce the chances of the entire world flooding by 2030. We need to stop climate change. Therefore, we need to do this and tamper with the food supply, or at least the cattle.
So what, they're trying to make the cows stop farting?
Yes. Oh. And that sounds like a crass way of putting it, but that's literally what Bill Gates says.
Oh, okay.
I never really understood the attack on milk. I mean, when you say it like that, it sort of makes some sense. I mean, not any real sense, but still.
I think there might be bigger problems.
There's a rationale there, even if it is actual nonsense.
I think it might literally be that there's some kind of cultural idea that white people like drinking milk and drink a lot of it. Therefore, it's a white thing. Therefore, I'm against it.
Right. So I remember, a year or two ago, or whatever it was, when suddenly, like, The Guardian will come out with saying, it's weird if you drink a glass of milk. It's like, what are you talking about?
How's that weird?
Well, they say if you're a grown-up, if you're an adult and you drink a glass of milk is one of the most refreshing ways to start the day.
Lovely.
It's also good for you.
Yeah, really good for you, all the calcium and stuff.
And protein.
Vitamins. Yeah, I was raised, if you grow up big and strong, drink milk, make sure you eat your crusts. Yeah. It's like, obviously it's good for you, obviously.
Yeah, I drank a lot of milk, still drink a lot of milk.
Yeah, occasionally, sometimes in the office, you have a big glass of milk.
Yes, just to flex on people. And I'm
flex on who? Yeah. We all drink milk.
Yeah, sure. Okay, all right. Yeah, get a load of this guy, right? But I am massive, and I put that down. Some might say genetics, some might say I was always going to end up this way, some might say the doctors said when I was born he's going to be massive. But no, I put it down purely to the milk. Purely to the milk. But, yeah, that's why they're trying to tamper with the food supply in ways that, as always, are being defended and put forward by unaccountable global organisations. People typically don't like that. But what's actually going on?
I don't want a weird chemical put in the milk I drink. Is that far right? Oh, God.
Well, they're saying that it won't actually go into the milk.
Oh, yeah.
But the problem is that I think global institutions based around health have completely burnt through all of their public support over the past few
BBC Verify will set us straight.
Oh, yeah, thank
goodness. They're the arbiters of real knowledge.
Oh, yeah, they didn't lie about me directly. Oh, no, wait, they did. They told just a flagrant lie about me. And then when I complained, they were like, no, we spoke to a Green councillor here, and she said the opposite. So you definitely went back to that place.
Yep.
But I didn't.
Well, happily, you'll see that there was nobody named Mariana
that's good,
in this particular report.
I still don't trust it. No, I think you guys are liars because you lie, and I know that you lie. So
well, clearly, you're a member of the far right.
Quite possibly.
But so the actual story, what's going on, is that Arla Foods, who are a Danish-Swedish company who own the UK's biggest dairy cooperatives. I love that Danish and Swedish companies can own our cooperatives. Yeah. They announced last week that 30 of its farms across the country would test out a new additive being put into cow feed named Bovaer. The company behind Bovaer, which is added in small quantities to the cow feed, say it could reduce cow methane emissions by between 30 to 45%. Now, they say this because people like Bill Gates and other climate activists across the world have pointed out that global emissions causing climate change are, yes, taken up a lot by fossil fuels and electricity and such, but a ridiculous amount of it, like 21%, is also from agriculture. And that methane actually expelled into the atmosphere is more damaging to the atmosphere than carbon dioxide because it helps to trap in gases, which means that we will heat up the planet quicker. So therefore, there are two options. You can either genetically modify the cows so they don't fart or burp as much, or you can start eating fake meat. Fake meat is still in its infancy and has already had quite a lot of pushback. So instead, they're going to go ahead for the time being with the modify the cows so they don't fart as much.
I'm sure this won't be thalidomide 2.0 or anything.
They say that it's been approved for use by UK regulators, so there's nothing to fear, and several major supermarkets will stock milk produced by cattle eating feed with this additive. However, experts have told the BBC that the additive does not pose any food safety issues.
Well,
so you can trust that. You can trust that. Meanwhile, baseless claims of it being part of a depopulation plot have swirled online alongside misinformation about its links to Bill Gates. Bovaer, it says here, works to suppress the enzymes in the cow's stomach that create gas. The National Farmers Union says that the additive is used as recommended. It breaks down the cow's digestive system and as such is not in the digestive system and is not found in the milk or meat that it produces. According to DSM Firmenich, the additive is available for sale in 68 countries around the world, and as part of its trial, Arla Foods is working with some of the UK's largest supermarkets, including Tesco, Morrison's and Aldi, who will stock these products. And again, it goes back to the Bill Gates thing. Some of these posting online have alleged that Microsoft founder Bill Gates is involved in developing it, which is actually incorrect. In a strongly worded statement on the 2nd of December, they said it had fully developed Bovaer themselves and emphasized the company had no other investors. Bill Gates is not involved in the development of this. He is involved in a different startup based in Australia called Ruminate, which develops a similar methane-reducing product, which you can find out about here.
Totally easy mistake to make then. It's not that Bill Gates doesn't want to do this. This is just one of his competitors.
Yeah, this is all part of the agenda that he wants to push, that he says is necessary, that he says will make the world so much healthier, because if you've seen a full-body picture of Bill Gates, you know that he should be the guy telling you how to be healthy.
It's the Microsoft businessman.
Yes.
I take a lot of advice from him on health.
Yeah, so his one, Ruminate, announced last year that they'd been given about $12 million in a funding round led by Breakthrough Energy Ventures, which Bill Gates founded in 2015, and the investment firm was also backed by Jeff Bezos and Chinese entrepreneur and Alibaba co-founder Jack Ma.
Oh, right.
A very trustworthy trio of people. And you know that this is perfectly safe and that there's not going to be any problems with it discovered in the next few years, because the government immediately came out with an explanation saying it's perfectly safe, citizen. Do not worry. And then media propaganda articles started to appear, like this one in The Standard. Why has milk become a magnet for far-right conspiracy theorists? Where you can tell that they have utmost faith in the product and its safety, because instead of trying to really explain to you why it's a good thing, they bring in a load of so-called experts to insult you for maybe having concerns about the fact that without your approval, without any kind of democratic process, without any sort of consultation of the public, all of a sudden the way that your food is produced is going to be changed chemically. So they get in somebody, Dr. Catherine Tebaldi, to say, milk is an everyday good. It has an imagined connection to maternity and childhood, which makes it a useful target for conspiracy theorists and white nationalists. Yeah, an imagined connection to maternity and childhood. What could milk have to do with maternity and children?
No idea.
It's just imagined.
I don't want to be far right, Harry. I mean,
well, thank goodness for that, Carl. Or I might have to dob you in. Milk becomes a stand-in for broader issues over masculinity and fertility, feminism, urbanization, and globalization. Dr. Tebaldi is a linguistic anthropologist, so an expert in health matters, at the University of Luxembourg, researching, quote, digital traditionalism. Hello there. The trend towards right and far-right online influencers that post online explicitly about getting away from cities back to the land and implicitly about returning to an era before civil and women's rights. So yes, raw egg nationalist is mentioned in this article. Since 2015 or so, there was a belief among white nationalists that only white people had the genes to digest milk, and folks would drink it publicly. And of course, Nigel Farage has also said that skimmed milks or oat milks, Carl, are for liberals.
I mean, I do like oat milk because I like the taste of
because you're a liberal.
No, I like the taste of it. Look at
you're a
the
liberal.
Scots. The Scots aren't bloody liberals, and they're massive.
Yes, they are.
They eat oats.
The Scots are very liberal.
Okay, but they still are giant because they eat oats.
That's one theory.
Oat milk is good. It's not soy milk. Calm down.
But
it's not like I don't drink normal milk as well.
Give me full fat silver top or nothing at all.
Yeah, or just
Personally,
I enjoy raw milk, and after looking into this, I will be having to revisit my local market to get some more.
Yeah.
Because again, while they're saying that it won't be broken down, well, it will be broken down in the digestive system, won't be, these chemicals that could be harmful won't pass through into the food products, I don't trust it. Yeah. I don't like the fact that my food production is managed by large global mega corporations who don't have any accountability to the public, don't really like telling you about when they're changing things, and then when they do change things and you say, hold up, I never agreed to this, they get, as in this article, a load of faceless experts to come and tell you that you're an idiot conspiracy theorist for worrying about the food that you eat.
I just say thanks for noticing.
A linguistics expert.
Yeah.
What a load of nonsense. That's talking about that people just want to go back to an age before feminism because they like milk. What insane...
I think that's pretty cool. I think
bunkum.
We should be like, yes, that is how we feel. We like milk and we don't like feminism. One of these things is good and wholesome, and the other thing is communism.
Here's another great thing that they point out here. So they get another one. Fabio Parasicoli, a professor of food studies at New York University, says it's a good example of what I call gastronativism.
Based. I mean, yes. Like if you look at whenever you see these things, oh, look at this raw egg nationalist. Okay, well, what's he saying? Well, eat nuts and honey and yogurt, and that's good for you. It's like, oh, I'm feeling quite far right now because I do like nuts, honey, and yogurt. So it's like, okay, and what now? Steak? Oh, I like butter. That's good too. You know, what about like fresh vegetables? Yeah, these are good things. This is all stuff that he's like, eat eggs. Oh yeah, I like eggs too. Oh no, God, I've turned into the most far right of far right.
You know that diet that made your ancestors really strong, that turned them into conquerors? Eat like that.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. But you don't even need to that's just nice. It's just good food. But the thing that really has bugged me about this, where they're like, oh well, we're gonna put this thing in the cow feed, but don't worry, it doesn't get into the meat or the milk. It's like, oh right, okay, yeah, because why would I think that it wouldn't, right? Like, I just don't believe you to suggest that the cow's digestive system is so separate from the rest of its body that this thing just will never end up in the food, in the meat or the milk that you're going to consume from it. No, like, the body is a holistic thing.
Just to remind everybody, and all for the sake of making sure that they don't fart as much.
Yeah, which sounds like a totally reasonable and not insane thing to
Because I'm not going to say anything about climate change's veracity or the human causes of which. I will just say that when you have such a large global cause as climate change that you're always sounding the alarm bells about, it's an incredibly easy tool to say, well, we need to change everything about society because we need to nebulously constantly protect against climate change and prevent these nebulous abstract things from happening.
But it's also we're going to meddle with the food supply in new and hitherto untested scientific ways that we don't know won't have a long-term consequence in a decade or something, right? It's that kind of thinking that I have a real problem with. Because, I mean, this literally was the source of the, say, thalidomide scandal, where, you know, like thousands and thousands of babies were born totally deformed.
And that had been approved by the regulators.
It had all been approved by the regulators. All of these babies born totally deformed. It's like, look, this didn't have to happen. Right, and none of the women were taking it to alleviate symptoms of, you know, whatever, you know, morning sickness, yeah. And like none of the women would have taken it had they known what the consequences were going to be. And yet the doctors said, no, it's perfectly safe. It'll be totally fine. And that's a genuine like scandal.
And to be fair, it's not like there are no reason for people to be worried about the effects of it. So in Bovaer, one of the three main ingredients in it is something called 3-NOP. Right? And that has been shown in certain tests. Now, these have been tests done on other animals, and they have to be in very, very high quantities. But it says, if you go down in this article here, on reproductive issues, the effect of 3-NOP on reproductive organs has caused a lot of comment. Research in rats and cows found that doses of 300 to 500 milligrams per kilogram of body weight resulted in ovarian and testicular shrinkage. Now, it's important to point out that's a big dose.
Sure.
That's a hefty dose. But still, when this kind of thing is being put into the food that our cows eat, and then we're eating cow products, I think it's perfectly fair for people to be concerned, especially given that over decades now, we've seen the unintended consequences that have come from a lot of meddling with people's food and people's biology.
Yeah. So
loads and loads of examples, like Cole said, with the thalidomide thing. There's loads and loads and loads of examples of that throughout history, aren't there? I mean, they used to put radium in all sorts of things.
Cocaine used to be in Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Like,
Hey, they weren't all bad.
Like, they used to think asbestos was a wonder material and put it in every building, or not every building, but just put it all over the place. And we can't really talk about what happened in the 2020.
Well, no, we probably shouldn't talk about that.
But the point is, there's just loads and loads of examples of when the governments and the experts say, no, this is fine. And then it turns out a little way down the road, oh no, it's really bad.
Well, didn't they used to have like radioactive toothpaste and stuff like that?
They put it in everything. Yeah. They thought it was like a wonder thing. They put it in
glowed,
paint.
You know?
They put it in paints.
Yeah.
It doesn't also
stuff.
It doesn't help that experts can come quite cheap. And similarly, the heads of the regulators often tend to have a very incestuous relationship with the organisations that they're regulating in the first place.
And the whole point that the end game of it, apparently, is to stop cows producing too much methane. Well, really, that's the worry.
Yeah.
When are they going to concrete? When are they going to concrete over all the volcanoes in the world?
Yeah,
which pump out?
Just whatever. When are the Chinese and the Indians going to be like, right, you're deindustrializing now, lads, because otherwise the planet dies. You're never going to do it, and so I don't want to hear about cows.
And bear in mind, at the same time as all of this, the main goal, even beyond net zero, of the UK government and Western governments in general, whilst trying to curb carbon emissions and such, is to pack in as many foreigners into the country as possible, who presumably through their activities, won't contribute to overall carbon emissions?
Well, surely they have to. I mean,
yeah.
How could they not?
Logically, it's an impossibility for them to not, unless you deindustrialize the entire country and just kill off all of the cows and start feeding everybody fake wonder meat.
Well, if we actually cared about the environment, what we would be saying is Western countries should have as minimal population as possible, because we've got the highest carbon footprint, right? So when they're in their home countries, they've got a much lower carbon footprint per capita than the average Westerner. So you wouldn't bring them to a Western country if you actually wanted to lower that. But they don't. It doesn't matter. That's not what this is about. This is about communism, anyway.
Yeah.
And also, it's China and India that produce the most carbon by a long, long way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Ridiculous margin. China, India, and America as well. But even then, America's like less than half of what
both
China
China
produces.
and India got hundreds and hundreds of coal-fired power stations still.
Well, we may have deindustrialized, but the industrial work has to be done by someone.
Yeah, and I love that they're like, when they're asked, it's like, well, what percentage is Britain of global emissions? And they're like, well, 1%.
Probably less than that.
Yeah, but the official number is 1%.
Yeah.
And it's like, right, okay, so even if we literally returned to the Stone Age and had zero emissions, that didn't change anything, did it? You know. So.
Well, again, when you say that it's about communism, if you think about it from a pure power perspective, climate change, saying, oh, we need to constantly be fighting against climate change, is a blank check to do whatever you want as a large government or as a global organisation. Yeah. And again, to talk about some of the other reasons for this, actually, Roereg Nationalist himself had posted a Substack article about this, where he spoke about Arla. The trial is obviously a precursor to a rollout of Bovaer on a massive scale, which is another reason to want to boycott this and stop this, because of the fact that it won't just start as a trial. The whole point of the trial is for it to be rolled out everywhere, for all farms to have to take on this kind of engineering. And once you've let this one get through, you have to let all the other ones get through. Across the corporation's entire Europe-wide network of cooperative farms, there are 2,500 Arla farmers in the UK alone, and many thousands in other European nations. Arla is the 6th largest dairy company in the world, with an annual net revenue of nearly 14 billion euros. And I'm sure having this kind of government-protected, 2 thumbs up, good job contracts that you'd get with governments for being able to say, well, you want 2030 net zero agenda, we'll help you get that. The amount of money that you could make off something like that, I'm sure, has nothing to do with why these businesses change their
I'm
tactics
sure
in this way.
Subsidies and whatever.
Yeah.
But let it be noted, Bill Gates isn't directly
Oh, thank God.
with it though.
And
He's just directly connected with the other one. Right?
Yeah.
And he ends his little article by saying that, like we've been saying, approval doesn't mean it's safe. Just ask the children born with seal flippers instead of limbs because of thalidomide. Because that was approved. But if you're interested in not taking part in an experiment that you never agreed to, were never made aware of, and was never put up to a vote, well, happily, there is a website now saying that these are the farms across the counties in the UK where they aren't taking part in this, and there is also a list that has been circulated online, as highlighted by this Daily Mail article, if I scroll down here, of all of the places that are partaking in this trial and all of the products that you might want to avoid if you don't want to take part in it. So here you can see the brands: Arla Foods, Lurpak, Anchor, Costello, Apatina, and the brands include Starbucks, M&S, McDonald's, Eco Milk. So if you don't want to take part in this, you're going to have to avoid these. What I would recommend, get in touch with your local farms, support them, go to your local markets, support the local markets and buy local.
Thanks for watching, folks. If you'd like to support us, go sign up to the website, £5 a month, or you could buy someone a premium gift subscription, which is a new feature that we have, and go and watch Bo's Epoch series on the rise of Vercingetorix. He's doing a very, very long and very, very detailed breakdown of the life of Julius Caesar. And of course, part 13 is Vercingetorix becoming the opposition, the Celtic opposition to Julius Caesar. I'm not going to spoil it. Go and watch that. And of course, go and follow us on X at lotuseaters_com for when we upload things and for more information.